Hi, I'm Ainsley from A Mom with Trauma. Thanks for stopping by my page today. Whew, I am so tired. I worked this morning, and I'll tell you what, I don't sleep very well the night before I go into work. Maybe I'll go in and get a little bit of sleep today, but that's not why I came on here. So I had a therapy session. I was able to get a therapy session yesterday, and one of the things that um, I was working through in my therapy, I was doing a lot of crying, like a lot, and I could feel it in my body. And I was trying to let the tears roll down and that kind of stuff. And one of the things that my therapist was talking to me, she said, it's really, I would like to try and figure out what you need in this moment. And she listed some things, and the thing that hit the most, and I just started weeping even more, was she said, what about consensual touch? And I started crying, and I was standing up the whole time. I'd been standing up at this point the whole time, and I was just over flooded with the notion of like someone genuinely putting their hand on me in a supportive and caring way. And I mean, I couldn't even grasp that. So at one point I was just crying so much. She said, "Okay, let's sit down. Let's sit on the couch." And she said, "Do you mind if I sit next to you?" And I said I didn't mind. So then she said, "Do you mind if I put my hand on your back?" And I was like, "No, I didn't mind." And she put her hand on my back, and the sorrow and the grief, but also the feeling of like really truly feeling my feet grounded on the floor. All those feelings and sensations just like came into my body. And one of the things I recognize is that I don't recall genuinely experiencing a physical touch in a way that was supportive or non-sexual. A lot of the times, the only type of physical touch that I experienced was like my mom abusing me, or being never being touched at all, never hugged, never anyone putting their hand on me, and just to like for that small reassurance of any situation, never experiencing that ever. And even in my marriage, there being a very twisted sense of like only type of touch is going to be like some type of moving into like physical intimacy, and really just not wanting that, like having no desire whatsoever for that at all. And so again, never being physically having that physical connection to another person. And so I think it's said for myself, and I'm realizing this, how powerful if someone can get into that mindset and that emotional set. But the physicality and the power of the exchange, of seeing someone in a place of suffering and to reach out and put your hand on them to just support them in that moment is, like, it's so powerful. And I know that this is not what everyone needs. Everyone has their own different types of needs, but recognizing that for myself and how the change I felt in my body take place when that happened was really profound. I have so much sorrow and pain trapped in my body, but to let that out, but also to have someone willing to be supportive enough to be next to me while I navigate through that is it's something that I have needed for a really long time, and I didn't know if I was allowed to need that or even say that that's something that I needed. So I think it's also speaks volumes to my therapist and her willingness to put herself in such a vulnerable position with me, as far as like the exchange of that much emotion and that much rawness is also can be very intimidating and daunting and um overwhelming sometimes. You know, people's emotions when they come out and they've never been tapped into are can be very strong and very intense, and it takes a lot from a person to be in the space, to hold space for the person that's going through that. And so I'm very, very, very fortunate for the therapist that I have. She has been a huge tool in me continuing my healing, and I'm so glad that I've been able to like continue to go and see her, especially during such a difficult time in my life right now. But yeah, the power of touch, I think a lot of other cultures other than I'd say like America, um, specifically like white American. I can't speak to all various types of America, but my version of living in this country and how touch was weaponized and to cause harm, and there was never any like touch to, very rarely was there touch to create healing. And yeah, that saddens me so much. And how even as my daughter, when she was younger, before I knew about all of this, my trauma and all this stuff, before I started working on it, I was actually like really afraid to hold her as much as I deeply desired to, because I believed that my trauma and like the unchecked issues, I didn't want to harm my child. So I would like tell myself like, you don't need to hold her as much. You don't need to like I don't know, just hold her as much. And I'm sad for that. I grieve that. And um you know, as she gets older, I hope that maybe we can figure something out that works for both of us. But just amazing how trauma works, and also how powerful touch can be if it's used in the correct way to like bring healing. Many other cultures, I think, desperately, not desperately, but they really understand this. They understand the power of human physical connection in a supportive, friendly, familial type of way, instead of it always having to be like sexualized. And here in America, we got that so backwards. But that's it. That's all I can really think about. But I am Ainsley from A Mom with Trauma. Thanks for stopping by my page. Have a good one.